everyone, this is Ashley Ellenboss with Skyhouse Herb School and Apothecary, and today is our very last class of our series on astrology and herbs, specifically on the moon and herbs. But what we're going to be doing in today's class is looking at the astrological influence of specific planets. We're going to look at the sun, the moon, Venus, and Mars, and plants that are corresponding or correlate to these different planets, just to give you a sense of how this works, right? Like how can we understand the way that our ancient ancestors, especially here in the, from the Greek tradition specifically, how they view the relationship and the correspondences of the different elements in nature with the planets, with the plants. So it's going to be a great talk. If you haven't listened to the earlier episodes, go to my YouTube channel or wherever you're listening to this and look for the series on the moon and herbs, and you will find all of the different classes so that you can get caught up, and that will give you a really good background. But if you just want to learn about the plants, you can stick around and we will dive right in. So let's go ahead. I'm going to turn on my slides. I'm going to share my screen. So here we are. Plants and planetary associations, specifically looking here at the sun, the moon, Venus, and Mars. And if you want to learn more about planets and plants, my husband and I are offering a course called Roots and Spheres, a moon circle, starting in January. This is going to be a really fantastic way for you to learn about herbs personally, like in your body. You'll be taking herbs with a group, discussing the planetary transits and these herbal allies and how they will influence and support you through the year ahead. Now, I want to show you, I want to bring you to my website so you can see exactly what it looks like and where to register. So I'm going to click here. Let's go to my website, skyhouseherbs.com. You'll see on this top bar, you go to Roots and Spheres, click there, and there'll be a little bit of a brief introduction to our course. Click on Info and Enrollment, and that will pop you over to my husband's website, Nightlight Astrology, where you'll learn all about the entire course, what it includes, how many gatherings we'll have. You'll also be able to get a sense of all of the dates. You can mark your calendars for all of these dates. These dates are roughly around the full moon and the new moon, so we meet twice a month. And if you want to learn more about my husband and I, you can read our bios here, and then frequently asked questions about the herbs. Are the herbs included? And then your payment options. So we offer a lot of different payment options, including tuition assistance. So if you can't afford the full price of $600 or do the monthly donations of $100 for 6 months, then we do offer tuition assistance. So you can click here to learn more. All right, let's go back to our slides and dive into today's material. If you haven't already clicked the subscribe button, please do that. That really does help me. And if you like this video, please click notifications, and that way you will be able to get notified every time a new video comes out. All right. So why and how does this all work with the planetary influences on the plants? Well, if we think about, if you've ever had your own birth chart read, when the planets are in a particular alignment, there is an imprint that they leave on the human body, the physical body, and the human psyche. So this is a very, very ancient study. And, we also think of the way that we garden. We talked about this a lot in the first 3 classes of this series, on how the moon, specifically in the phases of the moon, influence the way plants grow, influence the best times of harvesting, and you get the best yield, the best constituents, or like the highest amount of wanted constituents in plants. All of that has a really strong correlation to the moon and to the sun, and more subtly to the other planets. So if you, for example, are harvesting a plant that is ruled by Mars, you might find that when the moon is in the sign of Mars, some of those more Martian qualities will be strengthened. So that's a very interesting part of this dynamic. And, we also know that plants have, just like people, we have personalities and plants have personalities. And so herbalists from the modern day, like Matthew Wood, Judith Hill, from the 70s and 60s, we have Ben Charles Harris. And then from the 1600s, we have Nicholas Culpeper, and even before that, the work of Paracelsus, before that, Aristotle. So, humans have been studying and exploring the correlation between the signatures in the planets and how they show up in the plants and medicines on this earth. So if you're interested, I have some resources at the end of this talk where you can buy some books that might be of interest to you to help you get a deeper understanding of these people and how they viewed from the ancient paradigms, how they viewed the influence of the planets on the planets. This was a really cool graph that I found. Now, we're not going to go into all of this today. I did go through a lot of the correlations of the elements into the different zodiacal signs in the previous talks, but I really liked this particular chart because you can see here in the middle, we have water, fire, earth, and air. And so, you can see how these are air signs, the influence of air. Here we have our connection to Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini as air signs. Leo, here in red, is fire. Aries, Sagittarius, and Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo as all fire signs. We've got our water signs here in this sort of bluish green: Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer. And so all of the planets have elemental rulerships, which is basically fire, water, earth, and air. And so I go into the way that we can use those elemental energetics and help us to choose the most effective herbs in a recent talk that I did. So I'm gonna scooch over to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys don't mind me jumping around here, but I just feel like sometimes visual, it's like, where do I go to see these things? So I'm gonna go to, this is my YouTube channel. And if you click on playlists, which is actually where I am. So here's my home. I start talking about my journey if you want to ever listen to that, but you don't have to. Click on playlists, and this organizes all of the different talks I've done in series. So here we have herbal energetics, and you can see here I have how to select herbs based on their energetics. Sorry for the commercials, but that's just part of the way this whole thing works, guys. But here on the right, do you see this? How to use herbs, how to select herbs based on energetics, helpful plants for hot conditions, helpful plants for cold conditions, helpful plants for damp and dry. So this is a really great way if you're interested in learning about how to use herbs. How to use herbs energetically and relating to hot, cold, damp, and dry, which is essentially water, fire, earth, and air. So check that out, friends. But for today, what we're going to be looking at is really the way that Nicholas Culpeper, very revolutionary herbalist from Europe in the 1600s, I think he was born in 1616, and the way that he correlated the different zodiacal signs and planets to the plants. So he assigns every common herb of his native England and a certain planet, as well as a certain sign of the zodiac. Then, through elaborate system of planetary sympathies and antipathies, he used these astrological correspondence to formulate his remedies and treatments. And so this book here, Culpeper's Herbal, is a great one. Another one, if you want to understand how this book here basically you can look up each individual plant and he'll tell you which sign and which planet it's ruled by and how he uses it. But if you want the backstory of how he chose those particular planets and zodiac signs, this book is excellent. It's called Culpeper's Medicine. I'm going to stop share so I can just show you. This is an excellent book. This really breaks down how you can, how he looked at the planets and signs. And there's a number of beautiful pictures and images that will help you really understand this particular way of looking at astrological correspondences to herbs. So check it out, Culpeper's Medicine, The Practice of Western Holistic Medicine by Graham Tobin. And I want to give a shout out to one of my friends for recommending this book to me, Erica Galenton. So thank you, Erica. That book was definitely a game changer. All right. So back to our slides. What we're going to do is we're going to start with herbs of the sun and go to then herbs of the moon. And when I say herbs, I'm actually going to just really highlight one, but this is going to give you a sense of how the planets and plants are related. So herbs of the sun, solar remedies. So solar remedies are usually herbs that are golden in appearance. They look like the sun. Here's a picture of calendula, which we'll be talking about. Also, herbs like chamomile, celandine, and St. John's wort are solar remedies. A lot of plants that are cardiotonics or strengthen the heart. If we think about Leo as being the sign or the sign that rules the heart, things that really strengthen the heart are going to be considered to be more solar in nature. So angelica, saffron, lovage, heating herbs that restore the vital force, also herbs that help to resist poison, not necessarily cure poison, that's usually Mars, but to resist the influence of poison. Herbs like angelica, juniper, and rue, which are very protective plants. These ones are solar remedies. And then evergreen herbs that are forever sunny and forever green and have that vital life force in them. Juniper, pine, rosemary, and a lot of our evergreen plants. Calendula is one of my favorite solar ruled herbs. Not only does it have this beautiful orange and sunny look, but very clearly it does the medicine of the sun. It's like the sun embodied in a plant. It is warming, it disperses and thins fluids. It relieves overall stagnation, especially in the lymphatic system. So if you have, sluggish lymphatic drainage, swollen ankles, wrists, if you have, really slow menses or really sort of sluggish digestion, anywhere there's sluggishness, this herb brightens, warms, and moves and raises the vital force overall. This herb, I love this picture because I think this is a little bit of a genetic mishap. You can see that heart shape in the middle here of the calendula flower. This is actually my garden in Maryland. This is Tulsi in the background, and then this is my thumbnail. I always recognize my hands. I'm like, oh, that's my thumb in these images. And then this is a beautiful calendula flower. So the name comes from little calendar, or calendula means little calendar, because it has a propensity to bloom during the new moon of the summer months. So it helps the farmers keep time. We use the entire flowering head. It's very resinous and sticky when we dry it, and very warming too when we use it. It's in the Asteraceae family, which is also related to the chamomile plant and a lot of our daisy family plants. And it's really found throughout Europe originally, but it's been naturalized throughout North America and other parts of the world. So it's a pretty common plant. This isn't the same as pot marigold, which is Flor de Muerte of Central and South America. So it's not the same as sort of your pot marigold. It does look different and it smells quite different. The taste is primarily bitter, slightly sweet and salty. It has a tiny bit of heating pungency or spiciness to it, and it really does move fluids. I talked about it being warming and drying specifically for the lymphatic system. So if you have cold hands and feet and sluggish circulation, this is going to be a wonderful remedy. Think about the way that the sun shines and it warms our body and it thins and moves fluids. It's going to do the same thing inside of our system. And it can also do the same thing for our mind. It's a great antidepressant. So if you're feeling like the winter blues are getting you, here in Minnesota, it's only November and it's a cloudy day. So if you're feeling, down and a little sluggish, even mentally and emotionally, try some calendula as a tea or as an oil that you can rub on your body, and you'll really feel its mood lifting properties. It's warming like fire, but acts upon the waters of the body, which is kind of interesting. We can think of this as a wonderful solar plexus herb. It has an affinity also for the digestive system. So I love to rub this oil over the solar plexus, which is right around the navel. And also, if you have sluggish menses, it will help to move the menstrual fluids a little bit more effectively. So you can use it really topically. It's a great medicine to use on your skin. It also warms and dries out damp conditions in dark and moist places. So think about diaper rash, think about eczema or rashes in the armpits or heat rash between the thighs, wherever skin rubs on skin and you get a rash. This is a medicine that will dry it up and move and drain those waters out. Specific indications: symptoms that get worse when it's cold out or damp. So kind of the wet, wintry days. If you get flare-ups of any of their conditions, then that's an indication that this plant might be good for you. Depression, melancholy, there's a deficiency of the sun in your chart. So if you have like any, you know, uh, if you have if your sun is has any inflictions from other planets, or you have a weak sun or a weak placement of the sun, calendula can be a really nice plant to strengthen the solar qualities in your chart. And again, Matthew Wood talks about using it for those dark places where the sun don't shine. And I love that. So that can be a good way to think about, like, where might you need a little more sunshine, and then bring this plant in. I really like to use this as a tincture and as an infused oil. If you want to make a tincture out of this, then I would strongly recommend use a very high amount of alcohol. Not a, you want to have a really high alcohol percentage to get those oils and resins out. However, I do think it works great as an infused oil. I really love buying this from Oshala Farms in Oregon. They make a really great infused oil of calendula. They also will sell the bulk dried flowers, and it works really nice. Now, it's not the tastiest herb, so you can brew it in a tea, but you might not love the way it tastes. So I would pair it with some aromatic herbs, maybe like a catnip or something like that. Lunar herbs. Okay, these are herbs that have an influence, a lunar qualities to them. They're usually very moistening. So whereas the sun remedies are very usually warming, drying, heating, lunar remedies are going to be cooling, moistening, and sedating. So our moistening qualities are going to be found in herbs like chickweed, water lily, marshmallow root. Sedating, cooling febrifugal herbs. Febrifugal means it helps to reduce fevers, or some of our anti-inflammatory herbs like lettuce, wild lettuce, willow bark, clary sage. These are all wonderful cooling medicines. We can also, chickweed, water lily, and marshmallow are all cooling, so we could add those in as well. Our diuretics that cleanse the lymphatic system and move waters out, like cleavers, fall under this category. And herbs that grow in or around water, which is the moon's element, like water lily, and here we have willow again, or chickweed. All of these are signs of the lunar influence. We're going to talk here about chickweed for a little bit. This is one of my favorite lunar herbs. This is one that Culpeper talks a lot about as being a very lunatic, a very lunatic plant. It's moistening and nutritive. It reduces the choleric temperament. So if you have a lot of really strong Mars energy, or a lot of really strong fire, a lot of planets in fire signs, then chickweed might be a really nice one for helping you cool all of that down. It reduces irritation, both mentally, emotionally, and also just physiologically in the body. It also is very softening. So if you have a lot of Saturnine qualities or hardness, melancholic temperament types, these will really be influenced positively by the use of this chickweed. And just look at this plant. It's very soft. Its leaves are very succulent. They're juicy. And look at that white color, another sign of a plant being influenced or maybe held in rulership by the moon. It also is fuzzy. Look at these cute little fuzzy leaves here. Now, the Latin name of chickweed is Stellaria media, which means the little star. So, and these petals look like little starlights, like little star beams shining out. So it's a very night lunar type of herb. Um, and the part used are the herbs and the flowers, pretty much every part of it that's above ground. I really like to harvest this plant when it's fresh, right before or right when the flowers start to open. That's when it's at its juiciest, especially on the full moon. And this one grows also throughout all of temperate regions and northern Arctic regions. So it doesn't tend to grow in hot, dry areas. When I was in Maryland, you would find it all over the sidewalks in cities. So if you live in an urban area, obviously don't harvest it where you might have dogs being walked, or if you do, wash it super well or harvest after a good rain. But you can find it pretty much anywhere throughout the East Coast, the Midwest, in the southern regions. You can find it where it doesn't get too arid. And it's a wonderful, very, very powerful cooling medicine. The taste is going to be salty and green. It has a lot of minerals in it, so that gives it that salty flavor. And it's just so succulent and high in chlorophyll, it's going to give it that green taste. It's cooling, moistening. It's also going to be a lymphatic like calendula. But whereas calendula is going to be a warming lymphatic, this one's going to be an anti-inflammatory, cooling lymphatic. So if you have a lot of stagnation in your system, but you also have a lot of heat, then this is a better choice for you. If you also have a lot of hardness, let's say you have cysts and tumors, and you tend to be a more cystic tumor producing person, this is going to be a great herb because it's going to soften those hard masses and then help drain it out. And it's also vulnerary, so you can use it on wounds, and it's very nutritive as well. This is a shade-loving plant. So if you think about the moon and how the moon is, it comes, we honor the moon at night. Chickweed loves shady, cool spaces. While it will grow in sunny places, you'll often find it kind of nestled against a fence or somewhere where it's going to have a little bit of shade from the sun. It does hide when the summer sun is high. It'll grow lower to the ground. And when it's shady, it'll start to grow upward. And I love this one for cleansing the body of hardness, of heat. And it's a really good one if, I'm not a big fan of take these diet herbs. Like this herb will make you lose weight. A lot of that time that's not true. It's usually going to be diet and exercise. However, I will say that in the springtime, if you can harvest chickweed and make smoothies and juice it, it will really help your body detoxify. And it's been shown to actually help break down fat cells, or at least drain fat cells, make them smaller, and break down cysts and fatty deposits. So in that way, it really does work. And if you're looking for weight loss, use it along with obviously drinking lots of water, exercise, and eating really healthy foods. It's a great moon medicine for the skin. So think about any hot and dry inflammatory conditions. It works really well on the eyes. One of my friends, she has a dog, Leo, which is pretty fitting because Leo's a sun-ruled planet, but she has, or sun-ruled planet. So Leo, this dog, had hair that hung down into his eyes, and he'd always get these little eye infections. So I told my friend to make a cool compress, to blend up chickweed leaves, strain out the plant material so you just have the juice, and apply it as a compress to his eyes. And she said every spring she does that, and it just, the styes or the inflammation around his eyes go away completely. And they've actually been getting to be less and less. He gets less and less eye issues because of using this plant for so long. So we can use it for human eyes, pet eyes. It works really well. Anytime we have a loss of vitamins or minerals, we can use this juice as well. We can use it on nettle stings, insect bites, any sort of rash or hives. So soothing, so cooling. I like to also blend it up in my blender in the spring and freeze it in ice cube trays and then pour it into a bag. So I have chickweed in an ice cube tray so I can use it on sunburn, anything like that, insect bites all year long. And yeah, this is a picture of a close-up of just the leaves. You can also extract the minerals in a vinegar. So you can harvest the fresh leaves and mash them up, put them in. I like apple cider vinegar, let it sit for about a week or 2 weeks, strain it out, and then take shot glasses of that every day to get some really good minerals in. And you can also make a tincture out of it. You want to use low alcohol here because really you want to get the minerals out, and those are more soluble in water. So you want to maybe have like a 40% alcohol to 60% water. That should be enough to extract and also preserve your tincture. All right, now let's talk about, we're going to go just a little more quickly through a few Venus-ruled plants and a few Mars-ruled plants. So Venus-ruled plants are typically going to be very lush, fragrant. They have to do with beauty or beautifying, or they themselves are beautiful. So a lot of these herbs are used for the skin, like rose. They're also used for the urinary system, or like Libra rules the urinary system and the kidneys. So it can help to flush out the waters of the body or balance the kidneys. We also see a lot of tonic herbs that are ruled by Venus. So we think about anything that is, the herbs of Venus are very feminine, gentle, relaxing, and balancing. And so anything that's going to be a relaxing, gentle, balancing tonic is often going to be ruled by Venus. So I wanted to talk about catnip. This is a wonderful plant. It's so soft and beautiful, fragrant, relaxing, tonifying, and it is definitely a Venus-ruled plant. A lot of plants actually in the mint family, so in the Lamiaceae family, peppermint, for example, is Venus ruled. These are very just gentle tonics to relax the nervous system. Now, catnip is also a women's herb. It's been used for a long time for fertility, to help. It's gently warming, but it tonifies the whole female reproductive system and tonifies digestion. It reduces in babies colic and gas. So this is a long time children's remedy, very, very gentle, and can help babies that are colicky or having digestive complaints. You can make a very, very dilute tea and give them little drops on their tongue. And it can also be, as I mentioned, a fertility herb. So if there's barrenness, it can bring that fuzzy, fertile life force back into the womb. Motherwort is another Venus-ruled herb. It's another women's herb as well. It can mother a broken heart. And so this is a very long-standing herb that's been used for heart medicines or heart remedies. The Latin name is Leonurus cardiaca. And so Leo, we know, is ruled by the sun, but it rules the heart. And so it has this relationship to the sun and a relationship to the heart, cardiaca meaning cardiac, the heart, and it helps to restore balance, harmony, and rhythm. So look at the plant, look at this picture. Do you see how the leaves are growing opposite of one another? That is a sign that it is in the Lamiaceae family if we're looking at it botanically. But if we're looking at it more on an energetic or plant signature level, just look at the consistency. If this were to be a musical note, it'd be boom, 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 right? It has a very consistent rhythmic growing growth pattern. And so it can help our own bodies, minds, spirits, and hearts to get back into rhythm. So think about menstrual cycle rhythms. Think about your own give and take rhythms. And one thing that Culpeper said was that this plant restores joy to mothers. It makes mothers joyful. And we all know that, postpartum depression is real. It is real. And when we become a new mother, our whole schedules and our whole rhythms can get really, really thrown off hormonally and just schedule wise. So this can be a really nice low dose herb postpartum to take to help to restore that balance, that rhythm, the function of the heart, and hormonal fluctuations to bring that back to a balance. How about Mars? I love this picture so much. So here is a goat, or we could say maybe a ram, in a field of nettles. And so, Aries is ruled is a Mars-ruled sign, and so here we have the goat or the ram in a field of a Mars-ruled plant or nettles. So Mars-ruled plants are young, they're hot, they're dry, they're active, they're sharp, they're blunt, they move things, they energize the whole body, the mind, especially because Aries rules the head. And so, Mars has an affinity for the head and the muscles. But whenever you think of Mars, if we think of, Venus is going to be soft, balancing, tonifying, affecting women's functions. Mars, on the other hand, is going to work on on more masculine type qualities, on activity, productivity, virility, muscularity. All of those are going to be heightened by the use of Mars-ruled plants. So we want to be mindful of this, because they can be so activating. And a lot of us are a little bit of active addicts. So, if just be mindful. If you have I have 3 planets in Aries, so I have to be very careful with Mars-ruled plants, because a little bit for me, I'm like, more, more, more. So be careful if you tend to be a little bit of an addict when it comes to fire, in how you work with these plants. With the exception, this is one exception, is nettle. So nettle is definitely Mars ruled. Look at these very, very sharp-edged leaves. This plant is hot, drying, but it's also tonifying and mineralizing. So this is one that people that have a lot of heat can use safely, because it has such a tonifying quality. Especially, it's like a way better choice to caffeine. So if you have a lot of Aries, Sagittarius, a lot of Leo, and you tend to reach for coffee all day, try nettles instead. You'll find that it's also very activating, but it's not depleting. So it really does increase virility and vitality. I love to take this one as a tea, an overnight infusion, really infuse it for like 8 hours, guys, and it's so, so good. Another Mars-ruled plant is hops. And you might think, well, this is so bitter. But hops is also very, very cleansing and clarifying. It's hot and dry, and it removes obstructions and it clears out poisons because it has such a strong effect on the liver. This is the plant that we use when we are making hoppy beers like IPAs. So, a lot of people who really like bitter beers, I think what they might be liking in that is that bitter quality, which is actually very balancing to the liver, and it moves liver energy. So if you tend to be kind of an aggro, agitated, Mars-like person, it's interesting how a bitter beer in moderation can help move that out. In excess, it will make you more angry, more temperamental, more aggro. So be mindful of that, right? Everything in moderation. But as a medicine, hops provokes urine, cleanses the liver, which can remove that excess heat. So pretty cool stuff. Now, this is just a taste. I know maybe if you've made it this far, you're like, well, what about Mercury? What about Saturn? Well, yes, there is definitely herbal correlations and cool stories about those planets as well. We will get to those in the Roots and Spheres course if you want to learn about them. Otherwise, here are some great books that you might want to check out. So you can screenshot, take a photo of this, and check out these books to, give yourself more examples of how the planets and plants work together. I hope to see some of you during our Roots and Spheres course starting in January. And please, again, like this video if it was helpful, and subscribe if you haven't. Click on notifications so you can see when I get new videos coming out. And if you liked this, let me know. Please give me a comment. Tell me what was helpful. Tell me what you want more of. Your comments not only help to drive the algorithm up to help me get more views, but it also helps me know what you guys are interested in and what's helpful. So thank you. Thank you. I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day, the rest of your week, and I'll see y'all again soon. Take care.